How do you get it over to the right side?
You just drag it over.
You just drag it over, or you minimize the view, and then it locks itself in, and then open up the view, and it.
I think I'm good.
Okay. So give me just a second. We're gonna go live on Facebook, and then I'll come back and we'll kick it off. It's taking its time right now. You guys are going to cut through a bunch of those before.
Andrew, you never got that handle back for Instagram?
Which one?
The Tin City?
No.
It's crazy.
And then he wants to like meet and talk about it, but I don't know. I just don't want to have to like negotiate with him for
Third party?
The third party. Yeah, it's supposedly been thrown to a third party that the yeah. I don't know if
We do have people watching. So.
All right.
And I think is Melissa's running that, isn't she? Curt, the new one.
The Tin City.
Paso Robles.
I believe so.
All right, everyone, hang on just a second. Got to just get this Facebook thing rolling. And it's sticking a little. Ay, ay, ay. We already have a question. Another Friday Tin City drive-through this week?
Yes, it will be happening on Limestone Way.
Cool.
We're still working on the whole list of everybody that's going to be set up, but there will be a drive-through. There will be ice cream. There will be frosé slushies. That is for sure.
ETTO's always open. We'll be there. I should go 24/7 like 7-Eleven. That'd be a sweet idea.
It should.
Actually, you should have like there's a certain weekend where you don't shut down, and it's just the certain special ETTO blowout weekend. And like every like you don't have the pasta machine stop. You just keep turning it out.
Will you pay my?
What if you made the longest spaghetti noodles of all time and we turned the machine and we had to go out in the driveway and we let it run all the way down by the loading dock?
Yeah, what is the Guinness record?
Well, so, there was this trend for a while. I don't know if you came across it, because you're always out and about, but for these like super long pastas, like these hipster restaurants were doing these, like the plate was one continual piece of pasta. And I mean, I could do it. It's just, I'd have to stretch it out the door or just run it. I thought about it, but it's a little crazy,
I mean, it'd be interesting to see how long you could stretch one out. Like even, you could even like run it
12
Could you
pounds of flour.
do it in the street and then it just like runs all the way down towards the cider house bridge? Isn't
Right.
the gravity working for you too? Like we could,
We'd have to get everybody on board to hold it.
or you just make a bunch of 20-foot long noodles one day and you put them all on a flatbed trailer. We use it in the forklift parade. And then you have like, it's the biggest trailer of like the most noodles per square inch ever in a parade. Or so you could get some sort of category that would work in.
Yeah. I mean, is the Guinness book even printed anymore? Or is it just online?
I think it's still coming out. My kids have like this hardcover one now that has all this stuff in it. It's like a
Hardcover.
yeah. The cover on it looks like one of those now. That's what we call music number 47 deals, but it's the Guinness Records deal.
Say one noodle all the way around Tin City. As long as Tin City is, you can do it.
Yeah, we'd have to do the math because I can do 12 pounds at once. So we could, I could measure how long it is across the table, and but people would have to hold it the whole way.
We bring out the whole town. Everybody will carry it.
Yes.
Everybody will be 6 feet apart. It's probably like,
Maybe 7.
maybe 7.
All right.
All right, you put it together. I'm in.
All right. We're having Facebook interface technicalities, it looks like. So we might just go Zoom only, I think, and maybe Facebook will kick in, but it's just stuck on preparing is what it says. So, oh well, it's the way these things
Sounds like your kids are playing video games or something.
I heard one of them yell just now, and maybe they're having some sort of a Minecraft fight.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's just hope that they keep that to themselves and online. All right, right on. Well, thanks everyone for joining us again for another Wine Zoom Hangout. I'm Chris again. I'm with the Paso Robles Wine Country Alliance, and today our theme is Tin City. We're doing a hangout with a few of the personalities of Tin City. I want to basically hang out with you guys, have a drink, talk about what's happening in Tin City, maybe even get a little bit of the history of Tin City for our viewers. I know we've got more people logging in here. Oh, and now Curt, you're logging, you're doing something. What is that all about? Hold on.
Is Kara doing it? Probably.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
As a,
Only from the house.
a panelist and not a, that's all right. Well,
Okay. I'll take care of that.
let's go. It's all good. We'll figure it out here in just a second.
Okay.
Anyway, there we go. All right. So want to introduce our guests, though. Brian Terrizzi from ETTO, as well as Giornata, is on with us, one of the OG there in Tin City. Andrew Jones, also part of that crew of the original folks to really establish Tin City with field recordings and a few other endeavors. And then Curt Schalchlin, also with a few different businesses there in Tin City, with Tin City Cider as well as Liege. Guys, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate your patience as we're getting this kind of kicked off. I want to kind of start with any of you who want to kind of start off with, where did Tin City come from? How did it get its name? Why, how did it even start? Andrew, Brian?
Yeah, you want me to do it, Brian?
I found Tin City because of Andrew, and it wasn't named Tin City at the time. So I think Andrew should start with how he discovered this place, and then I can go, add color to that. Yeah,
so I was looking for my own winery spot to move, and I was ready to move out of Custom Crush in 2012. I started, I kind of found out about this place through another guy that was making a couple barrels of wine at the other Custom Crush place I was at. And actually, when I came down here, we probably only had I think Mike only had about 25% occupancy of all the buildings. The first building it actually took me into to look at was the Barrel House building, because Mike English, who's the developer of the whole neighborhood. He was looking to turn that into basically like a co-op facility, and he had these stalls for like 4 small wineries to have their own tasting bars, and then you use the back room and all that. And it just really wasn't. I was ready to get out of Custom Crush, and I was like, well, he had a bunch of stuff available, so we went around and I picked a spot. The appeal for me is because I mean, I wanted a nice quiet spot to make wine and not with doing my grapevine nursery work, that's like kind of my main thing in town, and just have like a little quiet spot to make wine. And Mike, the landlord, I remember it's the best thing. He did all the legwork with the county for getting wineries down here. Or I walked into the county office with a check for $73, and I walked out in less than 15 minutes with a permit for a winery down here. It was pretty amazing. Definitely doesn't.
What was all around you at the time? Like what was there?
What was here? So Daniel's Woodland was in here. A bunch of the buildings weren't even built yet. Like the building that now is Field Recordings wasn't even built at the time. There was, what was it? Brian Spot was his artist sculptor guy. I remember, I forget what his name was, but his title on his card was El Queso Grande. That was the one thing. I forget what he did, but that was actually Brian's building. He was like a sculpture artist. We had a pool supply company up here. We had the Autocraft Body Shop folks. The Habitat for Humanity thing was in here. The resale construction material thing was here. What else was in here? I mean, the building that is now Aaron and Desperata those weren't even built yet. None of that stuff. The cul-de-sac didn't exist. And it was this nice quiet spot to make wine. And then, so I moved in, and then Brian, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Barrel House was second to move in, and then you moved in right after that. I think that was.
Yeah, I mean, Barrel House, and Scott Holly was here for a moment with Torin.
But he moved in after you, though, right?
No, he moved in right before me because I actually was talking to Scott. Our kids go to school together, and he said, "Oh, well, I'm back here, and Andrew Jones is back here." And he said, "I think there's a spot available next to Andrew," and I came by your spot, and I remember you're just like, "Yeah, low profile. Just want to make some wine, keep it low profile, just, no sign, no nothing." And I said, "Yeah, okay," and I was like, this is it. I was making wine in all these other people's places, like up at Via Creek, and then in a big facility in Slow and other facilities. And I was totally ready to move out on my own and get my own spot. But, to build a spot, have a little piece of property is way too expensive. So I saw what Andrew had gone, and I said, this would be perfect, and I wasn't thinking of the marketing aspect so much. I was just thinking of a place to make wine. But, the funny story, which, Andrew and I have told a bunch of times, is I quickly realized there were going to be tremendous marketing opportunities here in Tin City. And that's where Andrew kind of blew the doors off everything and went from, it's true, went from like low profile, Mr. Low Profile to, oh, wait, let me put this huge sign on my door that people can see from a mile away and, do this and do that. And really, really kind of amped up the trajectory of what we were doing back here. So, and then it became a race, like who's gonna promote themselves more. So, and it's worked out.
The one thing, I just remember we went to that first meeting to talk about the names and stuff, and you had just come down from Via Creek, and Pebble was teasing you about, you're moving over to that old Tin City, which I think is a great story on like how the name came about. Because
Pebble Smith. So Justin Smith from Saxum's dad. I was buying grapes from James Berry Vineyard Chardonnay, and we became friends. And he's like the nicest guy, really humble, been around forever. And he said to me, "Oh, so where's your little winery? Where are you making your wine? And I told him where it was, and back behind this and that. And he goes, oh, it's over in that Tin City. And I just thought it was the coolest sound. The name sounded super cool. And we went to this meeting, and Andrew and I were there, and there were a few other people who had joined kind of the Tin City group, and nobody liked it except us. They said, oh, that sounds cheap. So the name actually was officially, it was Marquita Crossing in the beginning. And I was like, well, that sounds like a real estate development or something.
Yeah, or a hunting resort.
Yeah.
The other one for that meeting, there was a small group that was voting for Marquitaville.
Yeah, Marquitaville.
That's gonna be a hard no on that one there.
Yeah. No. I mean, I did grow up in Cincinnati, where Jimmy Buffett is like, king of the world, but I've tried to distance myself from that whole situation. So I was like, no Marquitaville.
Were there parrot heads, Brian?
Oh yeah.
You're not a parrot head?
Not me.
Okay.
No, not me. That's more hip hop and punk rock.
That would be something to see, though, is Brian wearing one of those hats.
Those hats with the Jimmy Buffett shirt, eating a cheeseburger.
Hey, we kind of just jumped into this conversation, and I didn't catch, though, what everybody is having. I'll start it off. I'm having one of these ETTO Rossos, but I know people will end up asking. So, Curt, what are you sipping on?
I am sipping on the OG cider, so nice. Original cider, dry hopped, bone dry cider.
Well, so the cool thing about that is, I remember when those first cans came off the line. I mean, when was that? Like 6-7 years ago? I mean,
it'd be like fall of 14, or like right pre-harvest in 14, I think.
Yeah, and it's like that's the beauty of being back here, because I'm like, sometimes you get sick of wine, you don't want beer, and the cider thing was pretty rare, and Andrew's just like, here man, just take a case of it. So I had like 24 cans of cider, and I'm like, all right, this is awesome, and I still love it, because I remember that first day when you guys were canning that, and it just it's just amazing to see all these projects launch back here. And I was there the first day. It's really a cool thing to see what you've done with the cider. So
those first ones, those were the big boys too, 16-ounce cans. They could be a little dangerous, Right.
Polish off a few of those, you're feeling it.
What do you got in the glass, Brian?
So I have the ETTO Bianco. So it's Falangina with Pinot Grigio. So I made a few wines that we sell at our little pasta factory that are $15 a bottle, just easy, refreshing, everyday style wine. So
delicious.
Yeah, and Andrew?
I also have some, I'm kind of bouncing around. I got some original cider, trying it side by side with this other cider brand that I really admire called Western Cider out of Bozeman, Montana. And I popped some dry hop pet nat too.
Nice.
Dabbling. Couldn't commit.
I'll head over to your place later.
Yeah, really.
It's a bubbles kind of afternoon.
Yeah, lots of bubbles, lots of hops.
So Curt, tell us how you ended up getting over into Tin City. Like what brought you over there, and how did you discover it?
Well, I think I got an invitation from the mayor to come on over. So we call Andrew Jones the mayor of Tin City.
Brian's the mayor. I tan the public.
No, man, I think you're the mayor. So.
So yeah, I actually I'd been making my wine down in Santa Maria for quite a few years, and had a little like satellite taste room, Pismo Beach, and Andrew and I basically were talking one day, and he kind of pitched me on it. I remember being in with Andrew one day when we went over to his winery at Field Recordings before he'd ever moved in there, And I remember being so happy for him that he'd found that place. And, I can honestly say that there was no design, in Andrew's mind or Brian's mind, it was going to turn into what this thing's turned into. But I think as it started to develop, I don't know how Andrew thought that I should come out, but, he pretty much said, you should come up to Tin City, and he introduced me to Mike English, and Mike rolled out a set of plans, and he had a few buildings coming. And it was funny because Mike also shared with me during that meeting that I'd already been vetted. So he'd gone around to every other person that was already there and asked if it was okay if I came into the hood, which was surprising to me that I'd been approved. So yeah, that's pretty much how it started. And there was a couple different buildings, and we found one that was a good fit for Liege. Actually, two buildings that we thought was going to be good for Liege, and ended up settling on one. And then Andrew and I got to talking, and the second building next door, we decided would be good for the cider house. So we kind of both started rolling right at the same time.
Cool. And since you've been there and you kind of came in after these guys, I mean, what kind of changes, because they've been there a while now, but what kind of changes have you seen, and has it fulfilled kind of what you were hoping for to get out of being over there in Tin City?
Well, for me, it's been pretty awesome because I've been making wine literally kind of on a desert island for like a decade. So I was down in Santa Maria in a big building called Central Coast Wine Services. We didn't have any tasting rooms down there, like next to Coca-Cola and Anheuser-Busch factory. So I just I never really like had a fit. Like I'd never developed a bunch of relationships with people in Santa Barbara County because I was a Rhone guy. I feel like all those guys down there were Pinot and Chard centric. I had some relationships in Paso, but it's hard to really like build strong relationships when you're an hour away. And so for me, it's just been all about the cool part of having a community, and having, really people that are, in my mind, the beauty of what we all do is we're all, I like to say, like bootstraps wineries. Like we are owner operators. And I think we all kind of share the same passions, the same struggles, and just, it's able to collaborate and have this community. And I mean, it's been really awesome.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I remember before Curt moved in, it's a big decision. And it costs a lot of money. It's hard to move a winery, right? It's expensive. It's a pain. But I was like, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to, and I think when the right people, Andrew and I and a couple of others of us back here, when we identify the right people who are going to add and help elevate the community back here, we push them, and that's the way it's always kind of been is, I think we believe that by adding people who have paid their dues and worked really hard and are going to bring that same energy to the community, it just elevates it. And that's kind of what happened is Andrew and I were really early and there wasn't a whole lot of activity, but as we got more and more kind of exciting producers, and Curt being one of the later ones, you could feel this buzz and energy back here. And it's hard to put a finger on, but you could always feel it. You could always see it, and just the people and how happy people were, and the excitement of Tin City. So, and even when we do these drive-throughs right now, you feel that buzz as people are driving in their cars, picking up stuff from the various entities on Fridays. It's really amazing.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool idea that you guys all kind of collaborated on. Is to still get the public over there and checking you guys out, even though you can't really actually host everybody, because on any given Saturday these days it's packed over there, man. It's like you can't find a parking space practically. That's pretty cool. Do you think that with all of, you were saying the collaborative spirit, and I think all three of you have kind of said it, does it also help with maybe even like the quality of things that are being crafted in Tin City? To all of you? No?
I think everybody's learned things from neighbors and stuff. I think we all like, I think everybody's been pretty good about sharing ideas down here and things like that. And
Mhm.
I think it's definitely helped everybody's, you know, the overall, strength of everybody's business. It's been strength in numbers for sure, whether that be something technical or something on the, marketing side or anything like that. Like, I think there's been a lot of good things that have come out of working together for everybody. Like, and the other thing too, it's like, I think, especially over the last probably 2 years, I'd say everybody's really embraced working together even more. Like, I remember everybody was really worried about being open all the time, or like having an association to help coordinate things for the neighborhood, like so we could have like a consistent voice from everybody and things like that. I mean, Brian, remember the pushback we got on that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's like herding cats,
Yeah, but I think everybody and there's so many different business plans down here too, and different wines people are making, price points and all that, and so I think some people were a little concerned about is that plan going to work with my personal business plan because it's so different and things like that. And in the end, I think I think the one thing that cemented everything that we worked, like the ultimate thing in collaboration, was everybody coming together for the holiday forklift parade 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That sealed it for everybody. This is we can do such great stuff by working collaboratively on things.
Well, and a couple people, I mean, Andrew brings up a good point. I mean, a couple people have left over the years and they're very, let's say famous, great winemakers, but the energy and what was happening here wasn't really the right fit for them, which I totally get. I mean, everyone has their own personality and brand perception, but, I think Andrew's creativity and Curt's with all the stuff they've done, and it's pushed me to be much more creative, and it kind of feeds off each other. And I don't want to say it's kind of a goofy, wacky. I think it's more serious than that, but it's a very creative spin on the wine world. That not everything has to be $100 bottle of Cabernet. You can make hopped pet nat, or you can do creative stuff. I've done all these orange wines, Skin Contact, amphora wines that have gotten a great response back here, and we get a lot of younger consumers that are what's so funny,
I'm just thinking about that with things like after you did that whole orange wine series, and I think that's with Curt's orange wine and stuff too. We are the orange wine destination for the Central Coast. Tin City. It was like, I was just thinking about that with your whole series on that.
It's funny because somebody was like, "Oh my God, so and so just did an orange wine," and then they came into my winery and they're like, "Wait, you have 6 of them?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've been doing them for 8 years." And they're like, "I didn't know that." And I'm like, "Whatever."
OG.
So we should be calling this show as the OG show. And then Brian, though, you go with the orange wines and you do this and that, and then you go with pasta. What brought that on?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this, again, I mean, I'll give the guys below me, Curt and Andrew, credit. I mean, seeing what they did with cider and the creativity, and it kind of leads me to just the diversity of product offerings back here in Tin City. Because some people want something different, and some people come for the brewery, the cider, but there's people that come to Tin City now and they don't even drink alcohol. And I make fresh pasta, dried pasta, and it's really the same model that I use in the winery. I first approached restaurants, and I sell my pasta to about 50 restaurants locally, sell them in retail, the same as I do my wines, and then we have a marketplace where we sell pasta, Italian goods, and there's a lot of snacks that people can take around the neighborhood. And the benefit to me is now we're technically a grocery store, so we're open for business 7 days a week right now. Andrew and I were joking, we should be. I should go 24/7 because it's been been a popular destination lately. So, because there aren't that many options that you can visit back here. So,
Right.
The first week,
I have
too.
a question for Brian.
Yeah.
So I always tell people that that ETTO is like basically something that you've wanted to do since you were in college, based on a place that you worked while you were going to college. Is this a true story?
Well, so when I was at Fresno State, I worked at a place called Sam's Italian Deli and Market. I ran and kind of launched the wine department there, and I'm sure you both have sold a lot of wine to that place. It's
so cool.
It's a pretty serious institution in the Valley. It's been open about 50 years. So, that, and, I worked in Italy also, spent a lot of time at Italian markets. So I think the combination of those two things was always rattling around in my head. And, talking to Andrew and seeing the development of Tin City, I realized, this could be really interesting and could add and build another draw to this community that we've established here. So, that's kind of where that all came from.
And you know what? I have seen ETTO pasta at Sam's.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring their sauce over here too. His mom makes this organic. They stopped making it for a couple years, but this organic tomato sauce. So I'm gonna carry that, and he carries my pasta. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Place is amazing. That's like it's weird that like the old school Italian deli that's so, I mean, Central Valley has some of the best ones, I would say, with Sam's in Fresno, Luigi's in Bakersfield, and all that. And it's weird, I think of it as like Americana, even though it's this Italian deli, but like the New World Italian deli thing is, I think, awesome. Brian's done an awesome job with ETTO and like everything that's been put together there. And what's the your new signage that you're doing that's off of the one place in San Francisco?
Oh yeah, that was Luca up in the Mission. They just closed, but they had all these old school signs in the window, Luca Ravioli, and it's a lot of these Italian delis. So the place in San Francisco, I think they sold their parking lot and the building for $13 million. The old man retired. He was in his 90s, and it's 24/7 work. I mean, I work nonstop between the winery and ETTO. It's a ton of work. And, these kids in San Francisco, they're not going to take it over. So they can sell the land for 13 million and live off that. So these institutions, that's why the Valley has maintained these old Italian delis. But, places like LA and San Francisco, they're kind of disappearing, which is kind of sad to see. But, this is kind of a modern interpretation of that type of thing. So
I think one of the themes that I also hear from you guys is how Tin City is definitely this kind of hub of innovation. And I want to go back to the canned thing, because I think one of the very first canned wines from our area, one of the very first canned wines I've ever even been exposed to, was coming from Andrew, from you. I think you were just doing fiction at first, and then you went into Alloy Wineworks, I believe it was, and you even had one featured on the Today Show, and that was pretty cool. How did you put all that together just to decide to go canned wine?
It was something that I had an idea to do it. Goes back to for me, with everything wine, the ultimate goal for me, I do a lot of different stuff in the wine business, and the best interest, what I'm hoping for is that people choose wine for their daily pop versus having a beer or a cocktail or any of that stuff. It's a win-win the more people choose wine. We need more grapevines planted then. We need more wine made. It's everything all around. And, the thing with wine that I think is so tough is it is ceremonial, and that it's a ceremony to pop that bottle of wine. And I wanted to I thought the canned format would be something to help, get wine into more of an everyday consumption thing for people and all that. I thought, and it was one of those things, like, it was an idea. The more homework I did on it, the better it sounded to do, and just went for it. And I thought our Fiction Red would have been a great can wine, so that's what we started with. We were in the new wave can wine producers. We were let's see, you had Infinite Monkey out of Colorado 1, you had Coppola with Sophia 2, Underwood 3, and then us 4th. Can wine isn't a new thing. They had it in the 70s when the soda companies had investments in wine, and the technology with producing cans, it wasn't capable of taking that a high acid product like wine at the time. So now with the technology, they're able to do that. And so, yeah, I kind of ran with it. I think we had the first can rosé out, which was as the rosé boom. And then also with cans, it was a wild ride. And the only thing I can anymore is Tin City Cider with Curt. And then I still keep my can club that we established through the Alloy days. But it was, I'd gotten to a point where I was going to have to start giving up some projects and things. And I'd rather just let somebody else fight the can fight with where it had gotten to. And I always told myself if I couldn't represent my wines entirely by me wherever they go, that it was time. The thing had gotten too big. And so that's when I decided to sell it off. So, but yeah, can wine, it was a good thing for Field Recordings brand in general. 2012 was a pretty crazy year because in 2013, Curt and I launched Fabulous Cab. I had my Wonderwall Pinot go out that year, and then I started canning that year as well. And it was nuts. It was a lot of growing pains. Saw a lot of we had to figure out how to ship cans. That was the other thing too. Now everybody knows how to do the logistics side. I had nobody I could ask at the time on how to do it. I had to figure that out. The amount of time I spent with cardboard manufacturers on trying to figure out how to get these safely to people. It's cans are a great thing. It's overall they're great for the wine world. So convenient to just grab a can of wine. And that the one thing I always tell people when I was doing cans is because everybody would always come to me, oh, that's so great for the boat or the pool and all this stuff. And I was like, I think it's great for Tuesday night. You just pop a can at the house rather than having to open a bottle. You and your significant other each have a can of wine over the evening. That's when I always tell people that's when I would know that cans have won is when I'm starting to get responses like that versus, that they were for a special occasion or a special location. So, but yeah, cans, it was,
And
not again.
Andrew pushed me a couple of times. He's like, "Oh man, you should can, a couple of your wines. That'd be cool." And I just look at all the stuff he does, and I'm like, "Yeah, and I'm not doing it." I don't want to deal with that.
It was probably at a time when I had fermenters in your parking spaces too, back at the old spot.
The front of my wine was Andrew's cellar.
One of Andrew's other titles is the Willy Wonka of the wine business, by the way. If you haven't heard that one.
He's a grapevine salesman.
Low profile. Yeah. So if anyone's been to my winery, it's kind of in a big parking lot. But when Andrew was my neighbor for however many years, basically my parking lot in front of my winery was Andrew's cellar. It was where he fermented, and I couldn't even get in my door half the time because there's Andrew's fermenters in front of my winery. So yeah, and I never complained. So you got to give me props for that.
No, we were good. No, it was always you'd be rolling in, and I just see the look on your face. I'm like, uh-oh.
No.
I gotta get over there and get those bins moved. The one thing though is I remember you came over one day, and remember there was that guy on the North Fork of Long Island that moved to Texas.
Oh right, yeah.
And he had that article. It was featured in the New York Times about how he ferments everything outside of this barn on Long Island or whatever.
Under the trees, he was under the trees and everything.
So the wine's in this natural environment its whole time. And shoot, you've been outside and in the parking lot, under the trees in the parking lot for years now. You should have used this as a marketing gimmick.
You two, I love it how you two still are sharing the same building. You can't get away from each other. or actually, maybe Brian can't get away from Andrew is the truth.
I think it's a weird thing because, I know we can both get frustrated, but I don't think we've ever had any problems with each other. I mean, there's in these kind of situations, there's always stuff coming up, but it's always like, I'm sure he's like, oh, what's he doing with the pot, but I'm always just fascinated by what's he doing now, like what are they doing over there, and sometimes
No, I've been doing that recently to you though. When like we'll go outside and Ricky's around, and you and Ricky are like, "Oh, we're gonna make this week." Or you like since Ricky's got some extra time, you've had him like you've been collaborating with him on different food items for the store, and like and then like now you're doing the daily sandwich thing for every like all these extra things that you've been adding on stuff. It started with just Loesch's sauce, and then now like you really putting a lot of things together.
I mean, this is like Andrew Jones style. I mean, I have like a 3-star chef who has time on his hands that I can kick it with, and hey, you want to make some mac and cheese sauce for me? And he's like, yeah, I know how to do that, and I'll tell you how to do it. And I'm like, all right, let's do it, man. So just like you learning about canning, I mean, I'm learning from a chef who worked at Meadowood and Masa, and he's 100 yards away from my front door. It's just amazing, so.
That's a good segue into what's next right now, because I'm curious. I mean, there's, we're unfortunately, but fortunately, I suppose, having a lot of free time right now. You guys, you can't sit still. What's next for you guys? Curt, what do you got going on right now? It's pouring something new.
Yeah, I really don't have anything new in the works per se. But I mean, we've got I feel like we've got our hands full. We've got, in Tin City, we've got the Tin City Cider House. We've got the Fabulous Wine Company tasting room there. We've got Liege wines there. And then Andrew and I were lucky enough to get the lease on Pomar Junction this last year. And the Fabulous now has its own estate out there. I feel like I'm good for the moment. Yeah.
Hey, well, are you okay? Like, not to put you on the spot, Curt, but like we tried something yesterday. It was pretty new and awesome. That's going to come out later in the year. Is that okay?
I'm sorry. Yeah, we got a new product for Tin City.
All right.
No, we have that too. But what about your claret?
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking like bigger picture, like we're going to open another building or something, Okay. Yeah. From a product standpoint, something I wanted to do, and I think we're really close on getting this out. We're going to do something called the TC Light. So we're going to basically make the OG cider at lower alcohol level, like more like a session beer. It's kind of the inspiration. So we got that coming out real soon. We're going to can that first iteration of that next Tuesday. And then for Liege, I have just finished my first sparkling wine, so a sparkling claret, actually. So Andrew was there when we popped it, and it got bubbles. So far, so good. Now we're going to let it age for a while before we release it. But yeah, that's a couple of new things I got going. Sorry.
That's great. No, thanks, Andrew, for.
Well, no, I don't want to like put. Well, it's one of those some stuff. Keeping. I don't know if he's keeping that a secret or not. So sorry, Curt, if that was gonna be like a.
No secrets.
Let's see. For stuff. Yeah, really fun and excited, or really excited about the TC Light. That we picked the final blend yesterday, and that's going to be awesome. Like hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, we're opening in June. The plan is to have like a June release for TC Light and have it on Father's Day weekend to celebrate all the dad bods that need to have some TC Light.
Nice.
So we're thinking about that, or we got that in the works. I'm actually working on a new tasting room right now in Tin City. So that's in the works, and it should. Whenever we do reopen to the public, it'll be at a new spot, so it won't be in the original bar. been messing around with mead. Got Tin City mead. Kind of messing around with that. I don't know if it'll be called that, but just seeing about. My father-in-law got really into beekeeping. We actually have a beehive in Tin City right now too.
So are you going to start doing that? The LARPing, like where you go out to dress up like King Arthur and that kind of stuff?
I go to Santa Rosa Park every Saturday in San Luis, get my LARPing in.
Nice.
So messing around with some of that. I don't know what that'll turn into. Like, we're actually like, I don't know. I'm enamored with the bees and like the medicinal thing with. I've always been a person that have bad allergies, and like the whole thing with like you eat your local honey, you consume your local honey, and it'll help with being natural antihistamine. So that. What else? Just planted a vineyard of my own for the first time 3 weeks ago. Field Recordings has its own little vineyard northwest side of town. We took over Richard Surratt's house that he planted in '85, and he had a bunch of nut and fruit trees on the north slope of the property that they were all in varying ages, and not like there wasn't enough of like one thing to really do anything with it. So we actually we took out the trees and all fruit trees. We didn't tear down any oaks, and we planted a new little block there. So I got that kicking, and then I don't know. I'm just trying to get through grapevine season right now, like with all the March rain, like and gangbusters starting this week for plantings. So dealing with grapevine deliveries and going out to check on fields and being socially responsible and spacing and distancing and all that's been interesting to deal with. So, but that's about a few things: mead, cider, some wine stuff, vineyard stuff. Yeah, same.
Yeah, just a few things.
So what's Curt drinking? Somebody asked.
Oh, I'm drinking Groundwork Counoise.
Oh,
It's chillable red, I like to say, just keep it simple, but it's a carbonic macerated Counoise.
Nice.
Cool. I want some of that. Brian, what you got going? What are you cooking on?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm doing Giornata is we're mostly a restaurant winery, so that slowed down a little bit. So obviously that's given me a little time. So I'm really focusing on ETTO. I made these affordable wines for ETTO, out of the Giornata winery. And then, my big opportunity, I think, is with pasta. Our pasta sales, especially dried pasta, we definitely can't keep up with production. There was a slowdown of equipment, obviously, coming from Italy, so we're waiting, but it should be on the water soon. Some new drying equipment from Italy, so we'll be able to dry more pasta. We started making pasta for the public schools last year, and that was really exciting. I want to expand that next year when the schools kick in again, and I just think, having some diversity with what I'm doing has been really helpful right now, because people are appreciating local food, with organic ingredients, and I think we're able to expand our product offering right now, so people visit us, and you can also order online. ETTO, I've had a lot of time to work on some product expansion at ETTO, so you can check it out.
I just had a text question. How much is this wine retail over at the shop?
15.
15, and the Bianco is same?
Yeah, they're all, so we do a Rosado, a Bianco, and a Rosso, and they're all 15. I made about 50 cases of each, and in a month, I've probably sold 20 cases of each. So, I had no idea how quickly. I should have talked to Andrew first, and I probably would have made like 500 cases of each, but I'm like, I'm not even really, I enjoy the wine. I shouldn't probably be promoting it because I'm worried it's going to sell out really fast, but there's worse problems than that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Right on. Thanks, guys. We've had a lot of fun. Sorry for some of the technical difficulties that we had there at the beginning with Facebook Live. We are recording this, and so we are going to put it on to PasoWine.com, and so we can still promote that we had this hangout, and people can still watch it because we've been getting actually a lot of traction that from our recorded sessions, actually. So that's great. We will have another one of these at the end of the week on Friday at 3 o'clock. We have Janelle Ducey, Joe Barton, and Austin Hope talking a little bit about history of the region from a second generation point of view. So that'll be a lot of fun. So that's our next show at 3 o'clock on Friday.
Those guys don't know anything.
Yeah. No.
They're the best. I love them. All three of them.
Right on. Well, I want to say thank you to Curt, to Andrew, Brian. Thanks so much. You guys are having a drive-through this weekend, or I'm sorry, on Friday, right?
Friday, yeah, Friday. I think the earliest place opens at like 11-ish, 11, 12-ish, but really like 12 to 4, I think, is the sweet spot. They have the most people open. Yeah, Brian's going to be open regular hours, right? Or
Yeah. Actually, we have Windrose Farms in front of ETTO tomorrow from 11 to 3. They might be there Friday, and then Saturday 11 to 3, selling tomato plants, fresh produce, and that's been awesome as well. So,
how does it work? Do you have to like call individual businesses ahead of time to order something, or you're just like pulling up and people are taking your orders, like, you know, in and out style or something?
Yes.
yeah,
Just pull up and we'll take care of you. Super easy.
yep.
Right on.
Yeah, some people we do take pre-orders and stuff on everything, but most people just drive up and take it. I mean, we get orders like anywhere from like real website orders to people like sending me a DM on Instagram that they want this or that.
Yeah. And you have some entertainment or anything too? I mean, people running around in special outfits. You're gonna have your little mead outfit thing going, or what's happening?
I don't know. All the entertainment really is over at Granny's with the ice cream line. You should see this. The drive-thru, we got to give full props to Alexis on this. It was Alexis's thing. She started with the ice cream drive-thru, and then you know, like the first day, you look over and like it's already backed up all the way down to Onyx. Like just Alexis and Wade's running back and forth from inside, like bringing ice cream out for her as she's taking orders on the street there. So like just the you know, that's been like the, you know, amazing the turnout for ice cream on Friday afternoon, and like the drive-through too has been cool because that's one thing we have full family. It's family friendly in Tin City. It's not just not just booze and adult stuff. So.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things. How do you kind of promote in the age of, you know, social distancing and not overly promoting? I mean, we want people to come, but we want people to be safe, and so we have to be somewhat careful about not creating a big scene. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not going too crazy, too big, but then again, you guys, you've definitely shown how instantly popular you can be with just very little promotion. I mean, that first forklift parade that Christmas 2 years ago, that was something, man. That place was packed and it was a lot of fun. I'll tell you, my kids did too. So that was very cool. Thank you again, you guys. I really appreciate it. Cheers. Thanks for being on.
Cheers, everyone.
Thanks.
Right on.
See you soon.
And
Thanks, Chris.
see you soon. Friday is the next show, 3 o'clock, same place. Thanks. Cheers.
Cheers.